Welcome back to another HABS BRUNCH, your Sunday rendezvous with the hockey coach, Euro code franchise directly for the beautiful country of Thailand. We have to go all the way to Ottawa to find a co-host. Oh, we see a logo Montreal Canadiens. He is back in the house, Mr. Marko Larabi. Welcome back, Mr. Marko.
Morning, Coach. I don't always wear my jersey to, when we're recording, but I think after the week that we just had, I feel we needed a little bit of it's a bit of a pep talk that we need this week. Like the fan base needs a little bit of a pep talk. So wearing the colors today, we'll try to be
Yep.
positive today, right?
We're going to talk about a less fun subject we have for you guys on this beautiful, great morning. We have the World Cup. It starts at 10 o'clock a.m.
Yes.
This morning. So good luck for both country for this great events around the world. It'll be interesting what's happening about this. But, we have to talk about Montreal Canadiens, and we have a special guest back with us. Of course, he's been there a couple of times. Of course, going to invite him in the next couple of minutes. But before we join him, we want to invite everybody. Please don't forget to click on the like, subscribe to our Hockey Live show, and definitely sharing this beautiful, great HABS BRUNCH, your Sunday rendezvous. Marko, we are now episode number 15, already together since the beginning of the year. The time go fast. Honestly, we hit the holidays. By the way, we're not going to be back until January. This is the last show of the year, 2022. So can't wait to see you in January. But anything you want to add before we see Nick?
No, you're right, Coach. It's flown by. Again, I discovered your channel during the draft. There's so much excitement, during the draft, and I'm so happy to have discovered your channel and this community. So thank you to you and to everyone in the community for welcoming me. And 15 episodes already. I love doing the show with you. It's so much fun, and it's been a fun year so far. But excited for 2023 and lots of exciting things to come as well. So
that would
let's
be
bring
great.
on Nick. Let's do the warm up.
We have a good team together. Love to be with you about this. So let's start it with a warm-up clip and then join Nick on the other side. Here we go. He's ready to rock and roll with us this morning. Mr. Nick LARIVIERE, welcome back at the HABS BRUNCH, your Sunday rendezvous. Hopefully you have an amazing, great weekend so far.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. I'm happy to be back.
Glad to having you with us. Of course, look, we're going to, like we do at the beginning, Marko, we see the review of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. And, week number 11, 1-3-0. Maybe this is one of the worst of the season. So we have a lot of subjects to talk about. They play 4 games. That's not happened a lot. I think that's only the second time, if not the first time. They won against Calgary Flame, and then they lost against Ottawa, Anaheim, and Tampa Bay. So what we do, we ask both of you, what do you think overall about the week for the Montreal Canadiens? So maybe Marko start, and then following by Nick.
Yeah, well, this week, listen, is maybe a bit of a metaphor for the whole season here, right? Like really solid start, really, really solid start. But then also some warnings. So that first game against Calgary, there's some warning signs, right? So if you just look at the score, it's a win, yay, everybody's happy. But the warning sign is power play. The power play, really letting the team down, especially in overtime, like a 5-on-3 power play, not able to connect. Markstrom, who, by the way, I have in my fantasy, the one game during the whole season that I wish that he didn't play well. Of course, he kind of plays his best game of the season so far. And then since then, he's been awful again. So that's just my hockey fantasy. But so that game, there's kind of what we call it is a canary in the coal mine. It's a bit of a warning, right? Like bad things might be coming. Then you have that that game in Ottawa, first period looking really good, and then bad penalty by Jack Eye. Okay, I'm waiting for all the Jack Eye people in the chat to start throwing bricks at me. I love Jack Eye, but bad TSN turning point kind of moment there. He takes that bad penalty. And here we go. We have a string of penalties, and then it gets worse from there, right? Like the Anaheim score looks a little bit worse than the actual story because there's what, two empty net goals in that one. In retrospect, that Anaheim game, we felt pretty ashamed about it, but then they just beat Edmonton last night as well too, so a little bit of redemption there. That Anaheim, I guess, is playing a little bit better than some people thought, getting some good goaltending. Their goaltender played really well, Dustal. Really solid performance for him. And then last night, one of the poorer performances of the year, I would say. So I think we're all hoping for at least a solid showing here at home before they go on the road. Starting to see some cracks in Martin St. Louis and in the fan base. And that might be a bit of a theme of the show here. So, Coach, we've been talking about this, trying to manage people's expectations all year, about what this team was. And, this week is really the first week that we saw maybe the true colors of the team, right? So troubling week, but again, we should have expected all this, right? Nick,
Yep.
did you enjoy all the games as much as I did?
Honestly, though, I felt like the games got worse and worse. If you think about it, the Ottawa game, they had one, maybe their worst period of the season was that second period, but the rest of the game, they were real. I felt that they outplayed Ottawa most of the night, and I just feel like we should add that because they played a decent game besides that second period that kind of just went completely downhill. But they came back, they fought back in the third. It's good to see that, and it at least makes the game competitive. And for what we were kind of expecting this year, it's not that games like that are okay to have at the end of the day, even though some periods like that can be very frustrating. So that's just to look at it at a positive way. Last night, though, like that one, I think we were all expecting it to not go great, but it maybe didn't go. It maybe even went worse than some people would even have thought, I would think.
Yep. So right about this one for sure. It was not like overall. I think you nailed it. I think Ottawa overall they did pretty good. But one thing I'm sure, for the first time they are 14, 15, and 2, and they are 89 goal for 110 a goal again. This is a number that's not lie. If you want to see
Yikes.
a team going to be fine, it's you have to be around 0 or plus. This is a really bad signature, minus 21. So it's not that good. First time they are at the bottom of the Atlantic Division, and I think this is the first time they are the lowest in the standing in NHL. I think they've never been below 24th until this morning when they wake up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look, those numbers does not lie, and that shows exactly what they are. And for me, I'm not surprised. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but it's not like a big surprise for me to see them where they at right now. Because you have other things happening before that where they maybe change the number of everything. But look, what we do at the beginning of the show, like maybe some people never been here, we ask a question for the people here, and the first time we ask you is about who stood out during the week. And sure, it's not many, but maybe one of them, or maybe something specific you want to talk about.
Could I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Just because I feel like there's one player that I'm enjoying his progression lately. Uri Slavkovsky, he's playing more. He's showing he can be a top six forward in the future. You're seeing the flashes. He just seems to get more and more confident every game. So while this may have been a tough week, at least we saw some really good stuff from him, showing that he's gained chemistry with guys like Anderson. Even last night with Doc, that line was rolling pretty well. It was probably the first time in a while I saw Drouin have a really good night, and like maybe not in the power play, but 5-on-5 he had a really good game. I felt.
Yeah, great point about this. Slavkovsky, I just want to mention to you 5 points the last 7 games, 1 goal, 4 assists. So I just want to sharing with that stat. So there's a great pick from you, Nick. What about you, Marco?
Well, I think Nick touched on it. Like, again, I might get some stones thrown at me in the chat here when we go on the premiere for this one, but I'm going to say Dwayne. I think he had 3 actually pretty solid games since he's been back. So to me, that stands out for sure. Last night, guys, I almost, if I drank beer, I probably would have spilled it on myself out of surprise because he was like winning 50-50 puck battles, like along the boards. I think we've all seen moments where Dwayne can make like a nice play. We always knew that he had good vision, but actually kind of like winning a 50-50 battle like along the boards, I was like, what's
Yeah.
going on like with this guy? So
One
pretty
thing.
impressive,
One thing
So
about
to me,
Drouin
yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
is that his defense, like sometimes he's always been told that he's like a terrible defender, but I don't think that's the case. Like he sometimes will make really nice defensive plays. Like he's gotten a lot of the good flashes in that
It's a great
situation.
point about this, Nick, because you remind me something. I don't know, Marco, you may agree with me, or both of you may agree with me, but I feel like on the defensive, it's better if he plays center versus a winger.
Yeah,
Because in
Yeah.
center, he
yeah,
needs to be more involved, so he go lower. As a winger, I feel like he's not part of what he is. So that's my feeling. I just, just sharing with you. I think there's a great
yeah,
comment, Nick, about
Yeah,
this, about
that's true.
defensive.
yeah. One thing I would have liked to see Saint Louis try, like I love the fact that he put, we talked about Doc last week, Coach, about how if you're going to try him at center, this is the time to do it. So I'm glad they did that. But before they went that way, I was surprised that at some point in maybe the Anaheim game, because Dwayne was having a good game, maybe flipping Evans and Dwayne and have Slavkovsky, Dwayne at center, and Anderson. That might have been an interesting experiment to try because Dwayne was playing pretty well at center. Then you could actually keep Doc on that first line to keep that going. But I'm okay with moving Doc to center because I think we need to see that experiment, and I hope that we have like 10 games at
But the
least of that.
problem with that,
It's
the problem is like Josh Anderson cannot be with the ski
No,
dog. This is
no, no,
it's been there since
that
the
was
beginning.
awful.
The underlying number, I explained this 1 month ago. He tried again yesterday, again 2 goals on the ice.
yeah,
Like there's no
yeah,
way.
yeah,
This is the
no,
worst he
no.
can be there.
But I'll
Uh,
say
So who
this
would
about
you put?
Anderson. Well, I'd say just before we come off Anderson, like he had like it's not that he like I think there's not one game during the week here where I don't think he didn't put in effort, right? Like he's being physical, he's skating, but it's Anderson, right? Like he just doesn't have. We've joked around about it before. Like he's a computer program that has 2 subroutines, and if you try to input another program in there, it just short circuits, right? So, but he's skating, he's hitting, the effort's there. It just he doesn't have the hockey IQ. I think we all know that.
the one thing he does good, better, is he learned from Martin St. Louis. Like he's only been one direction, right? He go from the board. Now he go on the backhands, then he come back on the forehands. He's tried to cut the defenseman, right? This season he go down. He does a cut back and then go all the way back at the blue line and he's drive down. This is the new from him, and that's pretty good overall. But he's not fit with them.
No.
With Ziski Caulfield on my eyes. But my player of the week for me is Kaiden Guhle. I don't want to go deep about this, but I just want to mention this to you. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later in the show. But Kaiden Guhle consistently performing. Yesterday, guy, he jumped on the play at the blue line to intercept the puck and then pass the puck to Nick Ziski. You show a lot of, and the first goal everybody was complaining about. He got cut at the red line, and Martin Saint Louis
No.
said, "No, no, 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 no,
No.
oh,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hey, Martin, you listen." Martin Saint Louis said, "No, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, no,
Yeah.
no. Look behind who was there, right? He supposed kept control. It was Cole Caulfield problem right there, and
Yeah.
it was a bit." Another press conference, a bit more. The
Tortorella.
press conference, Martin
Tortorella.
Saint Louis, the last couple of days is getting more hot about that one over there. But I wanted to share it with you about this. But yeah, anything you want to add about the overall for the week, or anything you want to add? It's time if you want to.
I think we'll go through like we'll cover most of the topics during the show here, so I think we're good for the.
All right. Couple of stats around the Montreal Canadiens. We can talk about this. I think Nick, before or during the show at the beginning, he said that the special team Montreal Canadiens are 1-27. The PK is 6-21 in the last 4 games. So they gave a lot of PK goal. And then they got right now 39 minor penalties since the beginning of the December and 9 game. And they dominate in NHL for the minor, and they are dominate on the overall for minute a penalty. And now with the fight last night, average guy is the number 2 with the most minute a penalty in the league. So I don't share it with
Wow.
you. So you have a lot of contents on those three information there, but both of you can talking about this, and we can go a little bit deeper.
Okay, first off, I'm surprised he's not number one. He was number one like 2 weeks ago, but he stopped taking penalties. I didn't feel it. That I feel like he still takes a lot of penalties, but I guess someone
Oh yeah.
is taking a lot more lately. But yeah, no, like the discipline is lacking, and that's something with Jack, as we know, that sometimes he'll take some not so great penalties. Kirby Doc in the Ottawa game, he was an issue with the penalties. Scored a nice goal to get the Habs back on to the board, and he he played a good game besides the penalties. But you could see he was really angry, and just, I feel the second period got to him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some bad performances have gotten to these guys.
Yeah. I think like we had a conversation on the show earlier this week about this, but Nick, what do you think? Like when you see them reacting that way with the officials, like we just had that bad luck where we had, I think it was Dwyer, we had him back to back, right? So the
Yeah,
first game, Doc was all over him, and you could see that obviously the referee didn't like that very much, and a lot of calls didn't really go our way for the rest of that game and the next game.
yeah,
So, you know, Martin Saint Louis, I think he was responding to questions yesterday because the first thing that you think of is, okay, well, you're taking so many minor penalties because you don't have the puck and you're chasing the puck and everything else. He
yeah,
doesn't seem to think that's the case. Like it's not because they're not possessing the puck enough. It's just they're making poor decisions with their sticks and putting themselves in positions where a referee could call a penalty. I don't know if I buy that. um, I think it does have a lot to do with just when you're defending all the time, that it's just going to happen, right? Like you get tired. Um, so I tend to agree with that train of thought. But are you concerned, Nick? Like that the Habs are going to get like a bad reputation with the referees, and that can have long term consequences, right? Like young guys are not supposed to yap at referees. That's a respect thing. So what are your
yeah.
thoughts on that? You think it's going to be a problem?
I think like guys like, yeah, like you said, like Doc, players like obviously Suzuki would never yap, Cole Caulfield either, but like if guys like Jack Guy and Doc do this going forward, like he could give them a bad reputation. Look at Gallagher's reputation around the league, but with
Yeah,
refs, they hate his guts. And
that's you nailed
could
it.
we have
Yeah,
that?
like that's
Could we have
that's
that in the
that's to
future? And that
me.
could. I
To
just
me, it's
felt
like
like the game.
in high school you used to have you'd have like police officers that would come in to warn students about the dangers of drugs, like or whatever,
Yeah,
or you have like an ex-alcoholic come to talk to people to show them the negative experience that they've had being an alcoholic. You figured that's
yeah,
what they would use Gallagher for, to explain to the young kids, hey guys, this is what happens if you're abusive, or if you have a bad relationship with the referees. This is what can happen to you as a player, and it still follows me to this day, kind of thing, right? So you figured that
yeah,
that would be a conversation that Gallagher could have with the young guys, unless like we talked about, coach, like we talked about it with Michael. It's a maybe a leadership thing, right? Like to me, if maybe it's Martin Saint Louis needs to tell his guys no yapping at the referees. If there's an issue, then it either goes through us or through the captain or through the assistant captains, right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just go ahead, Nick.
that's the way it should be. And I know Nick Suzuki's gonna get a good rep around the league. Also, I do think that that also came into the effect of why Gallagher was not named captain, given his experience with refs. And it's hard to be a captain when you have no respect from the refs. That was obviously some people thought like, oh, Gallagher needs to be the captain. But now when you think deeper about it, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, as what I want to bring to you guys is like the Ottawa, the referee was Gord the Warrior, and he drove back to Montreal to do the game the next night. And the conversation today on the social media was like on the TV, I believe. They said, look, he did not call some penalty. Usually he should call for Anaheim one day. He was 50-50. So that kind of reputation you talk about, that's maybe carry on for not for the season, but it carry on you for the next night
The
and it's
next
something
night.
like that. Therefore, they should never, they should restart at zero, but you stay on your mind, and that's maybe did not help the Montreal against Anaheim. What happening in Ottawa. Secondly, I want to mention to you, you're absolutely right, Nick. Tonight or this morning, Jacky took one more minute now at Nicolas Delaurier, 63-62. And do you know who has the most penalty minor in NHL, Marco and Nick? Like for only 2 minutes?
Jaka,
Okay.
isn't it?
Ramis Dalin.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. He's got
Weird.
a lot of penalty minutes. I remember when they
Weird.
played
20
Buffalo.
minute,
They were talking.
20 minor penalty for 2 minutes. So you give him
Wow.
the 40 minutes. So I just want to share in this because I was checking this. I want to be sure to correct, to be sure I was right. So because the last night he's now 1 minute over Nicolas Delaurier on the minute penalty. But yeah, so I just want to open up, but you can continue the conversation right now.
Yeah, I want to kind of get to the power play. It's just not working. Like the 5 man on the first unit, it's not 5 forwards. I mean, it's just not working. I think what they need to do is maybe put Matheson there. When Matheson was on the first unit, it wasn't going so bad. But then he got hurt, obviously. Then they went back to the 5 man. And I found around there, it kind of got a lot worse. Plus, when you think about it, you can look back at Suzuki's shot has finally gotten so predictable. And they just cover Caulfield. What other threat do they have? They don't try anything else. They need to try something new. And I don't
Yeah.
know if Burrows has the capability to do that. And that's why I mentioned before the show, maybe they should look for a new power play coach. It's getting to
Yeah.
the point where Burrows just isn't cutting it. Like, I'm not seeing much difference. Plus, there was that 5-on-3 against Calgary. Why was Armia on there instead of Slavkovsky? Like, yes, you could blame the players to a certain point, but that decision in the game against Calgary was the most annoying and frustrating thing. Actually, I think I was more frustrated during the win that because they should have won in regulation. Because why would you put a guy like Armia out there who has 0 goals this season on your 5-on-3 for the 2 minutes that you have 5-on-3? It was ridiculous.
Coach, did you want to take this one?
I wait for you. I'm going to
Okay.
add
Okay.
after that.
Okay. So, Nick, like what you're saying, is 100%. Like it very much represents the feelings of most Habs fans. So I'm glad you brought it up because it's a big issue. All of us agree that whatever's happening with the power play is unsustainable. But one thing that I think some people don't realize is that the way that Saint Louis is managing the power play, it's not all Burrows, right? Like the way that he's expressed it publicly on how it's being managed, it's kind of a committee, right? It's him and
Okay.
Burrows and maybe even Latowski have feedback on it, but also the
Latowski, you think?
players are the ones. But even the players are the ones that are kind of managing the power play. And on top of that, to me, the most baffling thing, and I'm not sure I've ever seen this in the league before, they don't actually practice the power play in practice. They don't physically practice it in practice because Saint Louis believes that, or he's concerned that if you have to practice the power play, that means that you have to have penalty killers. So he doesn't he doesn't believe in potentially exposing those penalty killers to potential risk of injury by blocking shots or just the repetition of doing the reps. So it's an
Yeah,
interesting point. Like it's an interesting philosophy
that's a
that
good point.
okay, you're saving wear and tear on your PK guys, and so interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I'm not saying that one thing explains the other, but I think a lot of like the Toronto Maple Leafs absolutely practice their power play every practice. So
And it goes,
know, yeah. So I think there's something to that. In terms of
yeah.
personnel, I think Matheson had a couple games there, but if you'll remember, the hottest streak that they had on their power play was when Drouin was there, right? So it
Oh,
was
in the
really
beginning,
terrible at
yeah.
the beginning of the year. Yeah, well, at the beginning of the year, they were like 0 for 23 or something like that.
Yeah, and then he
Then they
came in
went on
and
a
it,
run. Yeah,
yeah,
he went on a run
that's
of about
actually
7
true.
games where they were clicking at about 23%, and that's when
Then
Drouin
he
was
got
there.
hurt.
Then
Then
he
he
got
got
hurt.
hurt. They were
Yeah,
okay with Matheson, and then
yeah,
Matheson got hurt, and it just fell off.
yeah,
But like, I think
yeah,
one of the issues was when Monahan left too. Like, you had to put Evgeny Dadonov there. That obviously is not the
yeah.
same player at all. It's just
No,
not working with Dadonov. That's all I'll
no,
say. Is
yeah. I
there's
think like
nothing else.
the key tactic that's missing, because like you said, right, like it's very predictable right now. They have really the two options.
Yeah,
You could see their last night in particular, they're really trying to feed the down low option to Dvorak. He
yeah,
did the classic, like almost kind of like the Van Riemsdyk kind of move there, where he kind of gets it in the front at the side of the net, and then he kind of tries to take it, almost like between the legs and shovel it to the net. So, and Dvorak in the past, like he's had a lot of power play production in that
yeah.
spot. So I can see
He's
why
not a
they
bad.
tried Dvorak there, but he's not Monahan. Like he doesn't have the same hands as Monahan, but
No,
in terms of options that are available to them, and also Dvorak needs to be there because he's going to win you the face off too, right? So
yeah.
I don't mind the power play personnel that they have. Like I agree 100% with Armia instead of
Like
Slavkovsky. I
that.
think Coach and I, yeah, we were freaking out when that happened this week as well. But the guys they've had on there the last couple games, I can't think of a better group that you would want there. Coach,
No,
what do you think? Like,
No, yeah, you guys are bringing a lot of comments. I will just make some clarification here. Um, First of all, Alex Burrows is not in charge about the power play scene at the end of October. So it's all about Martin Saint Louis. So
oh
Burrows is
really?
not in the picture anymore on the power play. So you're not the only one said that to me on the channel. They bring me that point. He's not in charge anymore. It's really Alex Burrows. So it's Martin Saint Louis. Secondly, you're right.
But
You're right, Marco, about they practice only at the end of the practice. They go only at the half of the zone, and they do the 5 players there, and that's pretty much it what they do. So, yeah, absolutely. Great
but
comments about this. Um,
it's evident that they maybe should look into practicing it, especially because people are now booing the power play at the Bell
yeah,
Center regularly.
Yeah, absolutely right about this. The third thing I would say to you,
It's
you bring a good point, Nick, and because everybody you talk about Drouin, Monahan, Madison, but when you mention Monahan, Saint Monahan is not there anymore. He got hurt. The power play not do very well, and I think he was really good. Following by what you said, Marco, by Christian Dvorak yesterday, he wrapped up right. He shuffled the puck right away. I think Edmonton is good on that one. They carry on the puck on the back door on the other side, and they score a couple of goals that way. So I think Caulfield at that one, he should drive to the low, close to the goal line to get that pass from the rack between skating. If you got that, or you can bring your bumper, go straight to the net, or the Tampa Bay Kilsharov to Kilon,
yeah,
Kilon to point, and boom.
you saw
So
that play that. Do you see that goal from Perry yesterday? I think it was the last goal that Tampa scored, right? The classic Perry where there's kind of a scramble and then it's just a really slight feather across the goal crease to, yeah. So like those kinds of
yeah, so I
plays.
make a video about this week to explain. They are Vancouver is another one. The Bulls are with all that on the front of the net, and they do very well about this. So it's a high zone or low zone, and like you said. So those information you bring, you guys, you're absolutely right about this. So money does not hurt; it does not help, right? And then the 5 plus, I agree with you. I think they should use a defenseman over there, and definitely
instead of
they
Dwayne.
are
Instead of
really,
Dwayne.
really easy to read when they pull them up. Now, my last subject is this, guys. So Saint Louis, you want the puck more, or the coach, they want to send the puck more, show the puck more to the net. Nick Suzuki is not agree with that. Nick Suzuki said we should wait until we have a perfect chance to have a good shot. So you have two philosophy right there. So you have Nick Suzuki, be patient, pass the puck more, and wait for the right opportunity to to show the puck. So he looking more for the shooting percentage higher. And then you have other coaches like Martin Saint said, no, after X second, we should have puck. We should have a minimum 5 attempt to the net on the front power play all the time. And we have me. I always use a road at 7 seconds. If you don't shoot a puck in 7 seconds, it's not working. Yeah, something is not right there. So 8 seconds is under the rule, 7, 8 seconds. But I think that's the biggest problem I've seen between Martin Saint Louis and Nick Ski. That's the news I got from I don't know, somewhere. I listen to many things, but I just want sharing this about the power play. But yeah, that's all right. And the PK, since the beginning, the last PK, I would say to you guys, you have too many penalties. You cannot survive with
Yeah.
four,
Yeah,
five,
yeah,
six
yeah.
penalties
Per
like
game.
that. It's impossible. Like right now, we have 9 game, 39 penalties, almost 5 penalty per 4.2 penalty. It's too much. You're going to get
No,
score when you play against Tampa Bay. Scored 2 goals yesterday, Edmonton 3 goals. And 2 days ago, I think this week, Ottawa, I believe 2 of the 3 goals on power play. So right there,
yeah,
and Montreal does not score 2.6 goal. It was before the game yesterday, so now they have only 1 goal. So they maybe drop at 2.4 goal, and they gave over 3.4 goal per game. So right there, you can see the boy they
Yeah,
struggle. It's all the
yeah.
number.
yeah,
Out of
it's
all
not
three of
going.
those, though, out of all three, the PK, I believe at the beginning of the week, if I'm not mistaken, we were ranked 11th on PK. So out of all the team statistics, that's probably the one that we were like. It's the one that we're kind of above average, or like
Oh,
at
it was
least not
8,
uh,
Marco. Monday
8.
night
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are
So
8. We dropped at
yeah,
14
yeah,
this
yeah,
morning.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's. I think you're right. It's just volume. Like it's just too
Yeah.
much volume. And interesting, like I don't know if nobody's really talked about it, but gradually here, Josh Anderson started killing penalties and didn't do a terrible job. I think that's a good role for him. Like they needed, especially after Monahan got injured, because he did a lot of PK. But even when Monahan comes back, or unless he gets traded, I think they should keep more wingers on the PK, right? Because it becomes a huge problem having all four of your centers killing penalties, because then you just don't have the ability. And same problem with having too many forwards on the power play. Then after the power play is done, then the team is coming back with their top unit, and then you're starting off with a line that's kind of dismembered and everything else, right? So
Pitlick, Pesada,
it's good.
Evans.
Yeah,
Every
that's no
time.
good.
Every time.
Yeah, that's no good.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing else. At least you
It's
can come back with the first unit after that. But yeah, absolutely right. Great point for both of you about this. We have to move on. We have it already the half of the show. Because you talked about him a little bit earlier, a couple of minutes ago, Nick. So, Montreal Canadiens, do you believe they're really missing Savard and Monahan? Send they are, and now they put Savard yesterday on the ER. So it's another extra 7 to 10 days retro to December 4th, I believe. But again, what do you think about Madison back yesterday, Drouin's on the week, Hoffman's on the week, but now they're still missing, I think, 2 big pieces of the puzzle because since that, they struggle.
uh I don't want to like discount like Drouin. Drouin came back like he's had some a good week, I would say. Hoffman, I don't really feel like makes a difference. I'm sorry. It's just like the defense, and he's not scoring right now. He's a streaky player, and when he's not scoring, he's just there. He's just another guy.
You
Like
won't
we
get an
said,
argument from me there.
Monahan. I know. I didn't expect one from you, Marco. Did not expect that. But yeah, so for Monahan, yeah, that we know that hurts a lot. But Savard missing hurts probably a lot more than a lot of people maybe realized before this week. Well, it might be volume they're allowing goals, and Tampa's Tampa. They were going to score no matter what on the power play. What's in, Also what's interesting about Tampa is they've actually given up the most shorthanded goals. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's why we
No,
got like Pizzetta and Suzuki. Yeah, they've given up 7 shorthanded goals, lead the league,
wow,
but they have like the best power play, or one of the top 5 power plays, as far as I know, in terms of like. But when it's counterproductive. But yeah,
interesting.
to go back to Savard, yeah, like it's hurting the PK. He was the best PK defenseman this season, blocking all the shots. There's no one that blocks better than Savard, and that may have also led to injuries there. But like, no one is better at blocking shots than Savard. It really hurts the PK, and even 5-on-5.
Yeah. Well, for me, the thing, yes, you know what really hurts though about the whole Monahan situation? It's his trade value. That's
Oh
what's
yeah,
really hurting is his trade value because, of course, again, like if our focus was winning games, yeah, that's a huge blow. Like your second line center, takes a lot of strong face. Like, okay, I won't go through the list of everything that Monahan does well. We know what that is. So, but to me, what really hurts is we were banking on Monahan to flip him for a significant asset. We know that we don't know what the extent of the injury is, but it's probably a fracture, not a hairline fracture if he's missing this much time of his foot, right? So
yeah,
that's not an injury that's going to heal all the way this season. That's going to be one of those injuries where, okay, he's going to play when he can deal with the pain kind of injury, right? Which is a hockey
yeah.
player thing. That's what hockey players do. But if you're the Colorado Avalanche or the Carolina Hurricanes or whichever team that is looking to add that missing piece, and you're willing to sacrifice a really big asset for Sean Monahan with the injury history, that he's injured now. To me, that's the biggest. That's what hurts us the most about the Monahan
Would
situation. Of course, the on ice impact, again, like the on ice impact to me doesn't matter this year. That's not what this year is about. For Saval,
was it
same idea. It's not that it's not his, not that we're going to trade him this year, but it's the impact of the team long term that worries me a little bit because having Saval out means that Guhle has to continue playing on the right side.
or
We're going
Iris.
to talk about or Harris. So I think I'm still really impressed with how well Guhle's playing at the right. Like, could just imagine if he was playing left, and we'll talk about Guhle in more in a little bit here. But to me, it's just the impact of not having people in the right place and maybe exposing them to things that they shouldn't be. I don't care about what, like, is it preventing us from winning games? Okay, well, there's a lot of things preventing us from winning games. That's just
winning? Yeah,
another one. So to me, that's the problem with Savard missing is it's just putting people in positions that they shouldn't be, and also the lost opportunity of him working with them on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure he's still around the team, but it's not the same,
yeah,
right? We know that when you're
yeah.
injured, you're not really. It's like nature, like if you're an injured animal, then you have to follow the pack, or else you get lost, right? So that
Yeah,
to
I
me, those are
felt
the
that's.
biggest impacts.
I also felt that Savard was probably the best uh, partner for Guhle this year. Like he just seemed to
Yeah,
help him the most in progression, and they were a good pairing
yeah,
together.
yeah, for sure.
You're absolutely right. On the flip side, since Savard left, the game of Jordan Edmondson stepped up. He was dominated with 32 block shots in the beginning of the December for the Montreal Canadiens. I see he was a little bit better over the last couple of games since Savard left. I think he stepped up, so it's good for him. I think you nailed it, Marco, about Monahan. Monahan, what happening now is a lot. You can see the old Montreal don't have a center number 2. They have Dvorak more like a number 3, and people step up, defend share. It does not work. It unbalance the structure of all the line they was working before he left. Because at that moment they have a lot of good line between Dvorak, Gallagher together, then Doc and everything like that. Finally, the only thing is positive behind Monahan, and I think Nick said this earlier. Maybe the fact like Sarkozy stepped up more in the top 9 forward and he produced more, a little bit more. You can see a bit more what he looked like, Sarkozy. So only the positive side who said the Monahan that gave a chance to Sarkozy to step up and play a bit more
Yeah,
minute. And that's what I believe he should get now, the 2I.
yeah, going for, especially because he's not going to the World Juniors. He needs something, and
Yeah,
now he's got the minutes. So you could make the argument we didn't send him back to the World Juniors. Yeah, good. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Look, this is maybe the biggest question we have for you guys today is honestly why the app fan are negative. And this is coming from starting last week. And we don't point anybody here in the chat we got on my live streaming or someone. No, we just talk in general about this and
on
everything
Twitter.
and on Twitter. Yeah, exactly. So it's not only here; it's everywhere. If you read article left and right, you have a lot of fans, everything like that. So I want to have you and your thought about this. Are we are really too much negative, or is it the fans should understand more, or why happening right now? It's really the first time Montreal last 3 games since the beginning of the season, and their expectation are different or not. So I would like to hear from each one of you what you think about my question.
Okay, well, I think a lot of the time was that they've been playing so well all season up until now, and now we're getting to the negative side, which was kind of more expected if you think about it. What makes me what irks me when I'm watching games is just that like they play so well for a certain amount of time in that game, and they just completely fall off in the second period. Yes, the second period. It's always the second period. Uh,
Yeah.
I went to 4 games this year. I think the Habs allowed like 12 goals in the 4 games I've been to, all in the second period. 12-4. Like it's
Have they won
ridiculous
any
just
games that
how
you've been at, Nick? Have they won any of the
this
games
year.
that you went to see? Yeah.
Does the Trois-Rivières Lions count?
No.
No, okay, then
Did
no.
they win? So,
Not this year. No,
so,
all 4
so
they
no more
lost.
games. No more games for you this year, Nick. Sorry.
No, they lost 5 yeah, 5-1, 5-2, 5-1, 5-1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nick, I just
or
want to
4.
mention this to you, Nick. You're absolutely right. Minus 17 differential goal during second period, 11 third, and they are +3 on the first period.
Yeah, no, it's really the second period has been really bad to them this year. Like you look at their plus minus differential. Take away the second period, they're actually a positive team, and like that can give a lot of negativity, or not positive. Sorry, -4, but still compared
Yeah.
to it's not that bad. And that when you have that gives a lot of negativity because they're playing so well the rest of the time, and I think that has an impact.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things I think of, Coach, is so on Tuesday of this week, Nick, I don't know if you saw, but we had Chili Pepper on from Happy Hour. Great guest, really, really fun. I don't know if you follow her on Twitter, but great, great
Yeah,
guest. And she, I think, I thought about her a lot this week after watching the show or after watching the games because she had a very positive outlook, to the season, and probably in that camp of people, we're asking questions of, how do you feel about the direction of the team? And she's like, hey, playoffs. I'm looking at playoffs. I'm hoping for playoffs, right? So, but seeing her on Twitter yesterday, she's like, ooh, now I kind of understand, kind of what's really going on, right? So I think people just, Coach and I on this channel, anyways, we've been warning for a lot of the season. This, like in your rearview mirror, like objects may seem closer than they appear, kind of thing. That's kind of what the season's been so far, right? Like it's not the true results that we see. So we've been trying to talk about it all year, but maybe it's hard, right? Like as a fan, trust me, I get it. It's hard to not want them to win and score goals and do all that, right? So from the beginning of the season, we were talking about what we expected was a lot of 5-3 games, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to lose, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun, and that's fine.
One
So
of my
unfortunately, we had a couple games that weren't like that this week.
yeah.
Like would the fans have been happy yesterday if it was 5-3?
Oh, I
I
would have
think so,
loved
right?
that.
Because
My favorite game this
yeah,
season is when they lost 6-4 to Vegas. I'm not kidding. To me, it was
yeah,
perfect tanking game. Like to me, the game against Vegas where they lost 6-4, I was completely satisfied. There was nothing
yeah,
negative in my mind. I heard some negativity. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is what we want. We got some
yeah, yeah.
goal
So
scoring because I just want to see Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky progress, and that's what I really want. I'm happy that Slafkovsky is progressing. You can't be surprised that Suzuki and Caulfield have slowed down a bit, but eh, no one
but
is. Yeah,
Marco, you need water.
just yeah,
yeah,
yeah, just clearing my throat a little bit. So one thing though that I think is pretty indicative of of what we saw is if you see the fans live yesterday, so they're booing the power play, and booing, and then as soon as they scored, then all of a sudden they're doing the wave, right? So
yeah.
that tells you a little bit about the psychology of what we're seeing. But what I would say to Habs fans is, because what you see a lot is people, and I guess it's human nature, and as fans, I understand why people do this, right? But we're trying to solve problems, right? So, hey, what can we do to solve the power play? How, who should we call up from Laval? How can we fix this? How can we fix that? This season is not about fixing things for short-term results.
No, and
En français,
that's
casse-toi pas la tête. Casse-toi pas la tête
honestly,
quand ça vient à gagner des games. That's not really the important thing. And Nick, I agree. It's fun to watch people score, like Suzuki and Caulfield score. But what
but you
makes
can't
me more
expect it.
upset is well, it's not that. I'm more concerned when I see Caulfield below coverage though, and it leads to and see Suzuki
Yeah,
and Caulfield
that's
-2 last night. That's not progression. It's fun,
yeah, no,
like when they're scoring, but it's not progression. Like
yeah. You got to
for
think
for
of it
for
that
guys
way.
that understand hockey, like we want the team to get better. Look at the team that we were playing last night. They know how to play
Yeah,
hockey. Do we want
yeah,
a
no,
bunch of Mike
and
Hoffmans? Do we want a
no,
bunch of future Mike Hoffmans, or do we want a bunch of Braden Points and
yeah.
Steven Stamkos? If that's what we
Well,
want, that's what we should be focusing on.
so obviously, like I've mentioned before, I don't like Caulfield's defensive game very much. I'm one of those guys, and like yeah, last night showed a good example of that. I don't know if Nick Suzuki was the problem defensively, but he hasn't been great either. Like he's had
No,
some iffy, and he's supposed to be a good 2-way forward, and normally he
he's
is,
not
but
that yet. He's not
he's
that
not
yet.
there yet. Like, he's
No.
gonna maybe get there. At this point, he's a dollar store version. No, he's not a dollar store version of Datsuk, but almost. Like his shootout moves, but I do think that his overall game is actually closer to Datsuk than Bergeron, just because of the way he plays in the shootout and
Well, the shootout
the
is
overall. No, but like the
it's not a
shootout,
it's
but
not a huge
even the way he
percentage of the
sees the
game that you're
game.
playing shootout.
Right, right. But no, but like what I'm trying to say is that he has the skill. I think he has more maybe pure skill than like a Bergeron. Maybe Bergeron's a hard worker, good 2-way. But I'm saying like pure like skill moves. Bergeron doesn't do that. He's a lot more safer. And you
Coach, what do you
see
think? Like,
Suzuki.
why do you think people are losing their minds on the Habs? What do you like? You're managing this every day in the chat, right? So
Yeah. It's
Why do you
like,
think people are losing their
yeah, I
minds?
have a couple of reasons, but first of all, right, the 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 road of the Montreal for the first 20 game example make the fans to believe maybe we have a team can compete for the playoff or can maybe better what we expect at the end where they are were all agree we sign we sign a contract all together for all the fans. They will say, oh no, we're not make the playoff, we're not going to get there, we're
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
good team, we're on the bottom. And then whoop, a W there because of what? Montembeau. Whoop, a W there because it's Jake Allen over there. Oh, and do that because the rookie play better what we expect with there. Oh, it's Caulfield and Zuski play better, and you can put all
Shooting percentage
together.
too
They
high.
got maybe
Yeah.
five, six
yeah.
W, at least 3 or 4 at minimum. What they're not supposed to win. The 2 game
Mm,
against Calgary Flame, guys, is 2-1. They have over 45 shot ball game. Most of the time, you're not going to win a game at 2-1. Most of the time, right? So 2 loss again there.
Mm.
If you can calculate all those stuff. Now it's all happen at the same time, the bad performance together. Now the people point the power play, they point the bad performance. Jake Allen. It could be
Allen. Yeah, yeah.
Drouin again. It could be Hoffman. It could be the big contract, everything like that. So all together, right? You put this together. Martin Saint Louis, Alex Burrows, and there can go on away like that. And I think because it's the highest expectation because Montreal put them on the road on the wrong path at the beginning of the season, and now they realize, wait a minute, but that's the P. I think the best thing you said, both of you, it's Nick when he said, "Hey, have a great time against Vegas." It was 6-4. We got 10 goals. They come back and forth, everything like that. That's what we're looking for. If yesterday someone said 5-3 earlier, if it was the same thing, Tampa Bay, 3-1, and then like the game they come back in Anaheim, it was 2-2. The 2-0, 2-2. They gave a goal 3-2. But if they come back and maybe win or maybe close 4-3, that would be me changing a little bit the mindset of people. They want to have a team never give up. They want a team working hard and to stay in the game. Last night, guys, it's a byproduct of what you should be Montreal Canadiens in the next 5 years. What are you talking about? John Cooper said, I really like John Cooper. He said, look, what you see tonight, guys, he took us 7 years to become who we are today.
he's
So it's not something happened tomorrow. We have to work. We knew our scoring, but did not know how we defend. That was the biggest
yeah,
problem. And we took years
Yeah.
to years to understand that and to not only understand how to play, but to make the player to believe at this before they really realize it takes to win a Stanley Cup. And this is a really great comment for me when you said that because Montreal Canadiens, that's what exactly what you said, both of you. Coffee is key. That's what they need to learn now to score because they already know how to score. About how we defend, how we can make this, how we can control a game. What Tampa Bay did yesterday, guys, they shut down everything after 2-0. They knew they have no
yeah,
problem after that, basically
oh, yeah,
behind, and then they know they don't give a lot of possibility overall after that, and they get another goal. That look about what they do all the time, Tampa Bay. They sleep, they wait, they wait, they wait. It's just then, boom, they get an opportunity, they
And
score,
they
go
pounce.
there, and
Yeah.
score there.
Yeah.
But this is a learning process. That's my point today about this. People, the fans should be look. My expectation guy was 29 at the beginning of the season. 28, I would be happy. 27, I said, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I think they can get 27, 28 because other team doesn't do
yeah,
well. The San Jose don't do well. The Columbus was not supposed to be where they at on my standing. I was saying Arizona, Philadelphia, and then Chicago was behind Montreal Canadiens. That's gave 29 for Montreal, possibly 27 something. And now possibly they got fit 27, 26, 27, 28. So I just want to
yeah,
sharing this about this, but you bring a lot of great contents about it. So we don't want to be again the people here in the chat or so they are mean or anything like that. I want sharing a little
No.
bit more
No.
about happening. And again, for me, it was just like you said. I don't care they lose
yeah,
all the game, but if they compete every game and they stay in the game, and the fans don't want to have Sarkozy score, they want Coffee score, they want Suski score, they young. But on the flip side, guys, I will say one more thing. Marco, you said that earlier. The Montreal Canadiens, at the end of the day, they're doing well on one thing. The players are better. They progress better. Like you take all the rookies they got at the beginning of the season, all of them are become a better hockey player today compared to the beginning of the season. And that's what's supposed that this is the first goal, what they want to be at the end of the year. So I think overall, that's pretty good for the Montreal Canadiens. But this is a great subject. We talk about this. We're not done yet. We still have about
Yeah.
7 minutes to finish the thing. We're a little bit behind a bit,
Could
but
I
we're
can
getting
I
there.
just say one thing really quickly?
Yeah, I'm going to
Nick's
shifting there, but you can.
Yeah. So Nick Suzuki wants to like pass the puck and get the shot, the perfect shot, right? And we're mentioning like high shooting percentage. Who is the highest shooting percentage on the team? This is why he has that mentality, because he's like, oh yeah, every time I shoot, I score almost. It seems like
Yeah,
that's why he thinks he's got that power play mentality. I mean,
but
that's
that's a good example of. But that's what a good example of what coach is saying, right? Is
yeah,
he needs to understand that. Oh, like okay, like it's kind of
yeah,
like a kid, like that maybe didn't burn their hand the first time that they were near the stove. Eventually, like that's not going to work over the long term,
yeah,
right? So
yeah, no, no,
that's what coach is saying, is that you need to learn, like, not just the power play, but overall the right way of
yeah,
playing. And again, like the Habs made it, like Suzuki should know, like, he's played with Perry, Eric Stahl,
yeah,
Shea Weber, Carey Price. They went to a cup final, so he should be more advanced than than Slavkovsky or somebody like that, because he's had success. He knows
yeah,
what it takes to win in the playoffs.
yeah, yeah.
He just maybe just needs to be reminded of it a little bit here, I
He
think.
just got like fans. I think him over the first 20 games, him too. He probably got like the mindset like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this and it's going in. He's starting to get stopped on the power play. That's actually a good thing if you think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely
At
right
the end of
about
the day,
that. Look, I have a quick question about him, and because we have not many times, so I want to go for a little bit faster. Let's talk about Kaiden Guhle, but I would change this way, and I want to see that. Or what you think about what I'm thinking? Kaiden Guhle is the only one go on the right defenseman on the right side. They try Edmondson, Madison, Iris, and I can go all the way. And do you believe they want to use him there, not because they have an old missing left defenseman, right defenseman? Do you think they project in the future in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Wait a minute, we have Jekai, we have Iris, we have Madison. Lane Hudson's coming there. We have a lot of left defensemen. Jaden Sobol is another one, and William Trudeau is another one. I don't say they're going to make the team, but because they are limited with only three defensemen as a left defenseman, why not to try to teaching and making a Kaiden Guhle become a little bit of DJ Brody in NHL, play on the right side when he's a left defenseman? I bring this to you. You just give me what you think about my ID right now here. And that's the reason I want to talk about Kaiden Guhle, because since the beginning of the season for me is one of the best defensemen for the Montreal Canadiens, and maybe one of the best defensemen in NHL as a rookie for
Rookie.
the
Yeah, yeah,
Calder
yeah.
Trophy.
yeah, he's definitely up there.
I would
Yeah,
say,
I think
coach. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Nick.
yeah, I was gonna say like I like that idea that you brought up, Coach. What you're saying, him going to the right side could make a lot more sense and could allow players to get into their other positions, because guys like maybe Lane Hudson and you know Jack Eye, they're not going to go and play on the right side in their careers. And like with all these left-handed defensemen, you need someone to play the right side. I thought it was going to be Jordan Harris because he did that in college. It didn't work out, but Guhle is showing he can do it. So they might as well like start to think like, okay, we can do this going forward. We can keep him on the right side, whether he'll be on the top pairing or the second pairing, depending on who's on the team. It should be some good. It's a good move to have him on the right side, I think. Although the left side would be more ideal, but with
Yeah, of
the
course.
logjam, it just doesn't in the future. It's a good option to have.
Marco?
I'll be quick, coach. Like, to me, it's exactly what we talked about with Doc, right? This season is a season of experiments and to see what you have, right? So absolutely try him there for 25, 30 games, see how he does. Because if it works out, fantastic. You've solved a problem that's a huge problem. And that's what we're doing this year is we have a big draft coming up, big summer coming up. with big decisions of what are we going to do with this team. Literally, it's like clay, right? So Hugo still have a big mound of clay in front of them, and they need to figure out what they're molding, right? So try Doc at center, try Guhle on the right, see what you have. That's going to inform all of your decisions during the summer at the draft and otherwise. So yeah, try it out at nauseum.
Awesome. Let's move on to the next one. SOS to Laval. Is it the time now? Is it wait a little bit longer? And if it's this is the case to call the SOS with all the players you would like to call up. So quick, about 1 minute or 90 seconds, each one of you to give us an answer for that question. Nick.
Yolinen is a great example. A guy that should have been in the NHL. Obviously, he didn't have the greatest camp, but even with that being said, he didn't have there was no role available for him. But he's ready for it, and he's been ready for 2 years now. So he's not really progressing more in Laval. I think maybe he's learning a little bit, but he's ready for the NHL. And I still am against the Armia signing. Not because, he definitely hasn't had the offense. But I thought this was actually setting Yolinen back more than anything. Was because he was the guy to take that step and was going to be able to replace Armia. And
Great.
Well, I'll always be against the Armia signing, but because that's why we weren't able to keep Lehkonen, but that's a whole other story. Like replace those two guys, but Coach, to me, this is the exact same thing we're just talking about, right? So this is another comment that you're seeing, on Twitter and on the chat here is, okay, so how do we fix this? How can we fix it so that we can start winning games? Okay, who can we call up? And okay, yeah, like, right now, like we've been talking about, I sound like a broken record. Montreal Canadiens have too many conflicting priorities right now. They're trying to develop players, they're trying to create a winning culture, and they're trying to showcase and flip veterans. Those are three really hard things to juggle already. And so right now, there's just too many veterans there still, right? So what are you going to do with it? Like, we've been talking about this. Like, we thought these guys were going to get traded in October or in September. Like, we're like, okay, so they got to trade somebody here. It doesn't make any sense. Well, guess what? It's not happening yet. It's going to happen at some point. But to me, yes, would it be nice to have, if I had to call somebody from Laval, even though Richard is, having a great season, the first or second in AHL scoring, he's not like a centerpiece of your future, or none of these guys. Yolinen is not a centerpiece of your future either, but he's a guy that you drafted and that you've been developing. So to me, if you're going to call somebody up, then it's one of, it sounds unfair, but that's the NHL, right? Like, these are assets that, Richard was signed to help win some AHL games, which is not happening, by the way. Like, they're not winning games. And it's not, he had a good camp too. Like, he's a good, I don't dislike, I think it would be fun to watch him play. But again, as a fan, it's not just doing what's going to be fun. Yeah. Like, would it be fun to see Shaw come in and, like, kind of like maybe have a couple of breakaways and to kill penalties and look like Paul Byron for 2 days? But listen, that's not the long-term, what's the best. Let's see when it's time, once we get rid of Dadonov and clear some bodies, then bring up Yolinen, bring up RHP, bring up those guys. Mishak, like, I know he's injured right now, but let's see some of our draft picks get some time in the NHL. I think that's most important.
Awesome. I would like to add more, but we have no time. We got enough time. I want to finish this because we have two things. First of all, the World Junior Championship 2023. Montreal, we expect Owen Beck and Riley Kidnappy are part of the show. They unfortunately did not make it, and we have only 6 players now. It's going to be around the World Junior Championship. We invite everybody to watching them. Roy with Canada, Hudson, USA, Angstrom, Sweden, Kapanen, Finland, Mezar with Slovakia, and Aurora with Austria. We're going to follow everybody. The Hockey National Show here, we're going to follow all of them and going to give a result, everything like that. So I just want to invite everybody to follow this.
It's Christmas. It's Christmas when it's World Junior, baby.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this. We're going to talk more next time about them for sure. Finally, we do at the end of the show, guys, is a preview a week, this week, number 12 for the Montreal Canadiens. 3 games Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Game at 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8:30. Arizona, Colorado, Dallas. 60 seconds each one of you tell us what you think about the week for the Montreal Canadiens.
1-2. They're going 1-2. They're going to beat Arizona. I just think... I just still think that they can beat Arizona. They can go into Arizona and bounce back after a rough week. Obviously, the next 2 games are going to be a little rough, but hey, it's about progression, and I think that at the end of the day, the Habs have the better team than Arizona, and hopefully
the Bears get
they're
the
able
Bear.
to show it out.
Tourigny is for sure going to have his team going against Montreal. Montreal media in town. The Bears going to be amped up, ready to go. So yeah, I think maybe 1-2. It's they've been playing better on the road. Allen is like a totally different goaltender on the road this year for some reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe go 1-2. Let's try to get at least one good win. Like I'll say, going into Colorado, let's beat Lehkonen. I love Lehkonen, but it'd be nice to kind of have like a good win like that, like against a top team, just to finish out 2022. Because it is the end of 2022, Coach. Crazy year.
Yeah. 0-2-1, Mr. Marco, about them for this week. 0-2-1.
Right.
And
that's positive. Okay.
To come back to Nick, I would say to you, Arizona not great, but they have something we don't have. They have a goaltender, and sometimes he can steal any game. This goaltender, maybe for me, he's a top 5 goaltender in NHL on my eyes. He's a solid goaltender. So, like you said, Marco, this is conclude the 2022 last show of the BRUNCH. Going to be back, of course, in 2023.
Of course.
And we ask people to follow us. We're going to give you exactly the date. We're not sure yet, but it's going to be in January. So, Mr. Marco, maybe reflect on one thing, maybe pay a little bit more your attention in 2022.
Well, for me, by far the best memory, like Habs memory of 2022, has to be the draft. Just electrifying. And again, like that's how I found this channel too. So that whole period of time there, like during the summer leading up, like it was such a hard season, right? But man, like, the first overall pick, and then, all the moves at the draft that Ken Hughes did. Nick, were you at the draft? Were you lucky enough to be there?
Yes, I was there.
Man.
Awesome.
It was, and it is my number one moment. Yeah, for sure. Like
there you go.
Being at the draft, being shocked by Slavkovsky's pick at first. I was like, okay, they're going Shane Wright. Like everyone's saying Slavkovsky, but Shane Wright has been the number 1 pick. And then the Doc trade, it was so electrifying. Like the whole Romanov boo, Doc. Oh my god, yes! Like two different. It was literally so like awesome. That.
If I'm in a bad mood, I'll go on YouTube and I watch I watch clips of the draft again.
Anything, Nick, you want to mention 2022?
I do like that when St. Louis came in, it turned around Caulfield's game, and that's when the progression truly started. And I started to see, like, this team will be okay. Because the beginning of last season was easy.
But first of all, I don't know. Let's complete my 2022, Mr. Marco and Nick. First of all, I would say to you, you picked my 2 choices. First, it was the soccer ski because I called it. I sleep and I wake up in the morning. I make a video. I said Montreal select soccer ski. Secondly, I would say to you guys, it was Cole Caulfield, the explosion under Martin St. Louis, and I will finish with this one. For me, it was the selection of the Martin St. Louis as the head coach for the Montreal Canadiens. Because if you ask me, if Martin St. Louis it was the last name, or I never thought he's going to be the coach for the Montreal Canadiens. He turned around to be a great selection for Montreal Canadiens, and the Montreal Canadiens developed for. We have to give credit for Josh Molson. He did an amazing, great job to open and understood what it takes to become a better team. And I think that's for me. Those area, I believe it was a great for 2022. But of course, and not again Nick, you, but for Marco, because Marco had a lot of people, so he's one a part of the team I have under the Hockey National show. Like Nick is a panelist, show up sometime, and then like Karen, we have Marco, but we have in our tap, we have the moderator, we have a lot of people. We have about 12 to 15 people collaborators around, and help the Hockey National show to develop and get growing properly. Year number 3. So all put together, I cannot be more happy, grateful for 2022. And at the end of the day, we expect 2023 to be better for everybody. And on that one, maybe your last word, Marco and Nick, then we'll move on to the end of the show.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have been part of this year, and I hope to continue in 2023. That's
awesome.
And go Habs
awesome.
go.
Definitely go Habs go. Thank you everybody for watching the premiere. Don't forget to please leave us a comment. Always awesome to get your comments. Let us know how you're feeling about the Habs. Like, are you on new medication after how badly things have been going over the last little while? And yeah, we love you guys. Have a great holidays, and then we'll see you after New Year's. So thanks a lot, guys.
Just be safe. That's the most important thing, because we want to see everybody back in January 2022. Have an amazing, great weeks, everybody. Happy holidays, everybody. Happy New Year for both of you. Thanks again to join us today at the HABS BRUNCH. See you Sunday. Rendez-vous.